This happened right after I bought a house with a garden. Both my husband, Kevin, and my mother-in-law, Dorothy, declared their intention to move in with me, grinning mischievously.
Mom and I are moving into the new house too.
If you don't like it, I'll just have my son divorce you.
Dorothy's coming, so of course my terrible sister-in-law will come along too. They knew I wouldn't like it, but still went through with it. I shuddered at the thought of the daily harassment continuing even after moving. No, I don't intend to live together there.
What? Know your boundaries.
Dorothy raised her eyebrows. What she pulled out was a divorce form already signed by my husband. Her face said she didn't care about anything as long as she got the house. It was scary how well her plan worked. I had to suppress my laughter desperately. I wonder how scared I looked with my head down trembling while Dorothy looked so proud. I quietly signed the divorce papers, packed my things, and left their house. It was on the day of the move that I received a relentless call from Dorothy. She finally realized, huh? Dorothy demanded a meeting to talk. This was just what I wanted. I would meet her and end it with my own hands. After careful preparation to punish them, I headed to the battlefield. My name is Tracy. I work as an office worker at an advertising agency. It was the chief at a newspaper company who introduced me to Kevin. I was in a tough spot, so I couldn't say no to my chief. I ended up marrying Kevin after dating for 6 months at 29. I'll regret this decision for ages. I think Dorothy, Kevin's mom, intended to deceive me from the beginning. She seemed gentle and kind, but once I married into the family, she completely changed her attitude, and she showed her true self as a terrible mother-in-law.
Hey, Tracy, what are you dawdling for? When you're done with the dishes, go out and start weeding the garden just like I mentioned earlier.
There was not a day at my in-laws' house without Dorothy's shrill voice echoing. Every day was rough for me, and all I could do was reply with a sigh. After getting married, I was asked by my husband to live with his parents. His dad had passed away due to illness, and his mom had been suffering from leg pain for many years. He was really begging me because he didn't want to leave his mom all alone in their old house. But Dorothy was actually walking around like nothing was wrong. She insisted that educating her daughter-in-law was a mother-in-law's duty, and was harsh to me every day. Kevin, too, was no better. Even when I wished to live separately, he would only make excuses to avoid it. He's always under his mom's thumb. He never stood up for me when Dorothy was being annoying to me.
Sorry. My mom's pretty harsh, you know?
Stop laughing and help me. I'm really suffering here. Ever since we tied the knot, I've been feeling really anxious and depressed. Sometimes I just start crying out of nowhere, or feel sick for no reason. I got checked by a specialist. Turns out it's an adjustment disorder. I was really bothered by how living at my in-laws was affecting me. Dorothy was relentless with her tough requests, not caring about my feelings.
Don't be lazy just because it's your day off. Have you finished cleaning the room? Haven't you done the shopping yet? Check the discount stores before you go.
Please wait, Dorothy. Please don't rush me. I have a headache. I'll make sure to finish the cleaning and shopping later.
Don't talk nonsense. If you're told to do something, do it right away. You're my son's wife, aren't you?
I wanted to argue back that me being a daughter-in-law doesn't mean that I'm a maid. Most of the demands from Dorothy were about the house itself. Clean the gutters, replace the curtain, fix the splinters on the pillars. My in-laws' house was very old and falling apart. It creaked with every wind. Each time Dorothy would urge my husband,
Please just hurry up and get a new house. This is actually a rental house. We're renting it cheap from an acquaintance. Wouldn't it be nice to live freely in our own house for once? Kevin, you agree, right?
I do think so. But with my salary, it's impossible. A house of our own is just a dream.
The son who can't do anything right made Dorothy mad. So now, as his wife, she's giving me a hard time. Cook, clean, weed the garden, take her to the doctor. I was exhausted from working full-time, but Dorothy and my husband didn't show any concern, and that's why I got stuck with an adjustment disorder. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, this person moved in 6 months after me at my in-laws' house. Hillary, my sister-in-law, came back divorced with her child. She had been kicked out after being told,
"I never want to see your face again."
Well, it's my fault. I neglected my kid and slept with my husband's boss.
What kind of moral sense does this woman have? Seeing me disgusted, Hillary smirked. Just like her mother, Hillary did nothing around the house and even had me clean her room.
Can't help it, right? I'm raising my kid. You wouldn't understand if you haven't had one. But it's tougher than it looks. So, Tracy, I'm counting on your support.
Hillary doesn't work. She just lounges around all day. Caring for her child is just an afterthought. She spends her time relaxing on the sofa, being lazy. Her behavior is especially bad on weekends. She leaves her daughter with me and goes to the casino. Hillary, the troublemaker, seems to hang out with a sketchy crowd and they drink together in the afternoon. It would be nice if she helped with the housework even a little, but she really does nothing. She's the kind of woman who would do anything to get money for fun. Here's what happened one day. Hillary handed me a pouch, and when I asked what it was for,
"That's our dad's. Cufflinks, rings, and a vintage lighter are in it."
What? What am I supposed to do with this?
You're so clueless. Go and sell it. And make sure you sell it for as much as possible, okay?
All these things used to belong to her dad who passed away. They're all special things to remember him by. It made me sad when my sister-in-law wanted to sell them like it was no big deal. Thinking that she would use the money from selling them to go gambling made me feel even more helpless. I just couldn't bring myself to do it, so I explained the situation and dumped the whole pouch on my husband. What he did with my father-in-law's things after that, I don't know. And frankly, I don't want to know. Many things happened when Hillary first returned. My belongings started to go missing after Hillary arrived. I also think it was around that time that I learned my husband might be cheating. A friend who works at a different advertising agency happened to see him on a weekend. She saw my husband walking arm in arm with a young woman. When I heard about it, I was furious. I'm busy working from morning to night, even on my days off, and you're out having fun with a young woman? That's unacceptable. It's cheating, isn't it? Who is she? Tell me the truth.
"No, I wasn't cheating. She's just a girl from a brothel."
Excuse me? You shouldn't be going to brothels when you're married, should you? Hillary saw us arguing and burst out laughing. As for Dorothy, she looked dismayed, but didn't strongly reprimand my husband. According to her, if a husband visits such places, it means his wife isn't devoted enough.
Getting worked up over something like this is embarrassing. The fault is yours, really. It's because of you, his wife, don't devote enough to Kevin that things like this happen.
I don't think so. Dorothy, isn't that a bit unreasonable?
In this house, that's common sense. Besides, going to brothels or cheating is just what guys do. And as his wife, it's your duty to forgive him with a generous heart, you useless wife.
It seems my common sense is nonsense to them. Forgive Kevin for visiting brothels or cheating on me? I couldn't possibly do that. My irritation only grew. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. To change this unpleasant situation, I decided to take action. Even after that, Dorothy and Hillary remained the same. Day after day, they treated me like a servant, lying on the sofa or the floor like sloths. They would raise their voices when hungry.
Hey, why isn't lunch ready yet? It's already noon. Don't dawdle, okay? Tracy, you're so slow, it's annoying.
Then why don't you make it yourselves? I'm constantly on the move, doing garden work, cleaning rooms, shopping, without a moment to rest, you know.
Don't talk back like that. Know your place.
It seems I'm not even allowed to voice my opinion. That's it. I'm done. I wanted to get a divorce as soon as possible. But if things were that easy, I wouldn't be suffering. It was my chief at the newspaper company, whom I owe a lot, who introduced me to my husband. My chief also asked me not to do anything that would embarrass him. Annoyingly, Dorothy knows this very well and often brings it up. I'm completely stuck with this situation. For a while, all I could do was endure. Then one day, my husband's infidelity became an undeniable fact. My friend from a different company found some clear evidence. That prepared the first stage of my plan. Now I had to make the next move. I think about a month had passed when Hillary spread out a housing catalog on the dinner table after we finished eating. It was unmistakably the one I kept in my bag.
Look at this. It seems like Tracy was planning to buy a house.
Wait, did you rummage through my bag? Why would you do that?
Just be quiet. Wow, it's a bit in the countryside, but it's a nice house, isn't it?
Tracy, you should consult me about this kind of thing.
The house I had my eye on was a detached house with a garden. As Dorothy said, it's in the countryside, but it looks quite nice. I had already visited the site several times and met with a real estate agent. When I honestly confessed about it, the three of them really took an interest.
What? You've already gotten that far in the discussions? You're buying it? It's cheap and spacious, not bad. Kevin, it takes guts for a man.
What? But, a house with a garden. It's tempting.
If you're going to own a house, then I'll support you. I'll even help out a little. Don't you want to move out and live there together with Tracy?
Dorothy was pushing my husband to do something he didn't need to. She's such a hypocrite. She has no intention of letting me go that easily. When I asked whose name the house would be in, my husband frowned.
I'm the head of the family, right? It will be in my name, of course.
Then, is it okay to proceed? We'll buy this house and move out. Just the two of us.
Okay, I understand. I'm a man too. We'll buy the house. Hurry up and proceed with the discussions.
Finally, my husband clearly says so. Dorothy and Hillary both praised him, but I saw what they were doing. They glanced at each other and cracked up. A few days later, just after purchasing a country house with a garden as planned, my husband and Dorothy, both grinning, declared their intent to move in with me.
Mom and I are moving in.
What? But we were supposed to live, just the two of us in this house.
After thinking it over, we've decided to live together after all. You wouldn't say no, would you? If you do, I'll make my son divorce you. I wonder what your chief would say.
There it was. What a despicable tactic. If Dorothy was coming, Hillary would surely come along. Thinking of the daily harassment that would continue even after moving, I shuddered. Absolutely not. I have no intention whatsoever of living with you there.
What? What are you saying? Don't you understand your situation?
Dorothy was angry, her eyebrows raised. What she took out was a divorce form, already signed by my husband. Her face said that she didn't care about anything as long as she got the house.
If you really hate it that much, here, sign this.
Yes, I will sign. I'll go ahead with the divorce. I've had enough.
What? Hey, Tracy, are you really okay with this?
Kevin, let her be. Living with such a snotty and useless woman would only upset you.
You're young. You'll find another wife soon enough. That was a terrible thing to say. I signed the divorce papers. Dorothy was triumphant, oblivious to how I felt. It was scary how well her plan worked. I had to desperately hold back my laughter. A few days after I moved to a new apartment, I got several calls from Dorothy. Checking the calendar, it was as I thought. Today was their moving day. She finally realized, huh? The ringing wouldn't stop, calling me non-stop. How typical of Dorothy. Even though I ignored it, she kept calling, so I finally answered. She started yelling without even a greeting.
You! What have you done? What kind of property have you trapped us with?
It's been a while, Dorothy. Please, calm down. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't play dumb. It's about this house. You knew it was a defective house when you bought it, didn't you? It must be so. It has to be.
Indeed, the house I chose had issues. The ground itself was weak, and the land often sank. Even if it was a new construction, doors would stop closing after a few years. Apparently there's a mine tunnel for coal mining around here that's causing all the issues, but the locals already knew about it and built their house on safe ground. It's only the clueless new folks moving in who are dealing with the issues. I trapped those 3 by using a problematic house this time. It was hard work coordinating with a real estate agent to find a reasonably priced defective house. I set it up so that Hillary would swipe the real estate catalog from my bag. I made sure to leave my bag out where she could easily grab it. Unaware of this, the 3 of them fell right into the trap and moved. It was hard to keep from laughing when signing the divorce papers. I wanted to tell them everything, but I couldn't do that. I pretended I didn't know. A defective house? That can't be right. Isn't there some mistake?
What's with that tone? How insincere. Anyway, come over here a bit.
What? No. Honestly, I never want to see you all again.
What? What did you say?
I had no desire to meet a family of monsters that didn't understand common sense. Even if they offered me money, I'd refuse. And then Kevin spoke up.
Come on, Tracy, please. Just think about our feelings for a bit.
I'll return those words to you, Kevin. Have you ever considered my feelings, even a little? You haven't, right? You never stood up for me, right?
I'm sorry. I'll apologize. Hey, where are you? Tell me where you moved.
As if I'd tell you? If you showed up, I'd have to move again. Anyway, I want to cut ties with you all. The conversation went nowhere. Eventually, Dorothy started making even more unreasonable claims. She said the divorce was invalid and that we were still family. Impossible. I submitted those divorce papers. How unreasonable can these people be?
Anyway, let's just meet once to talk. We're getting nowhere. Come on.
I'm also begging you, Tracy. Just once. Let's settle this there, okay?
Dorothy and Kevin were insistent on meeting to talk. Even if I refused, they would surely call again. With no other choice, I decided to meet and deal with them once and for all. Fine, we can meet up just once.
Thanks, I owe you one.
But I'll choose the time and place, okay? I didn't want to risk being ambushed or followed. If I don't gain the upper hand even a little, the future will be terrifying. After thorough preparations, I called the 3 of them to a cafe. I arrived 20 minutes late to the cafe I had specified. Dorothy and Hillary, who had been waiting, were already furious. Kevin had a wry smile. They were just as I had expected.
How dare you make us wait? You're really out of line.
I don't even want to hear that. What do you want?
What is that attitude? It's infuriating. Because of you, we ended up with a defective house and it's causing us trouble. You need to take responsibility.
That's why I'm telling you. I didn't know anything about that. It was you who started talking about moving in together, right? Dorothy was at a loss for words. She couldn't deny it. She and Hillary had jumped into the defective house themselves. Apparently, the previous residence was undergoing renovation by the owner. In other words, they had nowhere to stay but that defective house. If you're done with your part, then let me speak. Dorothy, I will be suing you for damages and will file a lawsuit. Be prepared.
What? Damages? A lawsuit? Why would it come to this? I can't accept this. What have I done to you? Prove it.
You caused me mental distress, to the point of developing an adjustment disorder. I showed them a copy of the medical certificate I received from the hospital. All 3 stared intently at it. Dorothy's eyes were particularly wide. She probably never thought I was seeing a psychiatrist. You never thought about how much your verbal abuse could hurt someone, did you? I suffered a lot. I felt nauseous and cried. It was really tough.
That's because you're weak. It was all because you were a terrible daughter-in-law to begin with, wasn't it? Isn't that right?
That too. Do you realize that calling me a terrible daughter-in-law is actually considered insulting and can be a crime? You could be punished with imprisonment for up to a year or a fine of up to $3,000.
What? It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal? Dorothy really doesn't understand anything, huh? She's been really sinful. It's not okay to be mean and hurt others with words. There's more that could subject you to criminal penalties. Dorothy, you threatened me several times by saying you would talk to my chief about the divorce, right? That's a crime of intimidation.
Just a minute. Are you being a bit too dramatic?
I'm not being dramatic. By the way, the statutory penalty for intimidation is imprisonment for up to 2 years or a fine of up to $3,000. I won't back down, you know.
But wait a minute.
Hillary cut in. Her gaze was sharper than usual. You could say she had the look of a former delinquent. A face that said she wouldn't be intimidated.
Listening to you, it sounds like you're taking advantage of Mom's ignorance and scaring her. Do you even have any proof that you were insulted or threatened?
Yes, I do, because I've been recording all along.
What? Recording?
Yes, I had the voice memo function on my smartphone activated all throughout my time at my ex-in-law's house. And that's quite a bit of audio recording. I've also prepared data extracted just from the parts where I was verbally abused by Dorothy. If I submit that as evidence, the crimes of insult and intimidation will almost certainly be confirmed. Did you think I would just sit back and take it? It's not just you, Dorothy. Hillary, you too. You'll likely be held accountable.
What? Why? What did I do to you?
Take a moment to think. Didn't you commit a crime? Or are you saying you didn't do anything to upset me?
There's no way I did anything to upset you. Don't mock me.
Hillary insists she's innocent. I showed her the screen of my smartphone. Suddenly her face turned pale. It's not surprising she turned pale. What was shown was her rummaging through my bag, the disgraceful sight of her snooping around my things.
What is that? Why? When did you even take that?
Ever since you arrived, my belongings have often gone missing. My makeup, accessories, clothes, bags. So I set up a hidden camera.
That's terrible. How dare you act on your own when you're just Kevin's wife?
I'm appalled. Who's acting on their own? Let me tell you about the statutory penalty for theft. Imprisonment for up to 10 years or a fine of up to $5,000. I'll contact the police later. Hillary was gaping, wanting to say something but unable to. She looked utterly helpless. I have a record of everything that has gone missing from my possessions. The actual extent of the damage is well documented, making it easier for the police and lawyers to act. When it comes to action, I go all out. I had decided that I would never forgive these three. And finally on to Kevin. He shrugged when I glared at him. If we're talking about the degree of unforgiveness, he's the one I can't forgive the most. I thought marriage was about helping each other. But Kevin, it seems you had a different idea, didn't you? From the beginning to the end, you were always against me, weren't you?
Wait, what? I didn't mean that at all. Seriously, trust me. I was just trying to help out today, you know?
Yes, I've had enough of lies. I don't need your mediation. Kevin is a wimp who only thinks about himself, always trying to side with the stronger party, just as he has always been on the side of his mother and sister before. And even now, trying somehow to get on my good side, hoping to be the only one forgiven. If he had been a more decent man, I might have continued our marriage. If he had said we should live alone in another place, I might have done just that. The name of the person you cheated with seems to be Mandy Smith.
What? How?
How do I know? I had someone check for me. I have a friend who's good at that sort of thing. I even have a photo of you and Miss Smith entering a hotel together. Here, look.
Whoa, no need to show me.
As I attempted to show him the screen of my smartphone, my ex-husband quickly blocked it. He probably didn't want his mother and sister to see the evidence of his affair. It should matter to them. Morals and ethics are already broken among all three of them. They are that kind of family. I put my smartphone and the copy of the diagnosis back in my bag. There's no need to show any more evidence from my side. Dorothy, Kevin, and Hillary all seemed to have lost their will to fight. They know they could be reported if they mess up. They seem frightened. Unfortunately, I was fully intent on consulting the police regardless of whether they did anything. I think the police will be visiting you eventually. It's better not to run. Your crimes might become more severe. Also, make sure you don't contact me. Got it?
Tracy, don't be so cold. Were we married until just recently?
Yes, we were. Honestly, I think marrying you was a huge mistake. I feel relieved now that we're not married. If you follow me, I'll sue you for that as well, so be prepared. Don't wait for me in front of my workplace. Don't contact me unless absolutely necessary. I made a few simple promises like that with the three of them and left the cafe. They remained looking down even after I left the cafe. You can't stop people from gossiping. Word about my ex-husband's divorce spread like wildfire at his job. Word got out that he was cheating and treating his wife badly. Now his coworkers are starting to ignore him. After all, Kevin and I were introduced through a department head of a newspaper company we dealt with. It was unnatural for my ex-husband to be viewed harshly after losing their trust. Unable to bear the hostile environment, he eventually quit. His last job did not go well, and his relationship with his mother and sister began to go bad. He reappeared in front of me about a year after our divorce. I was stopped on my way home from work, and there stood a shabby man. Kevin? I didn't recognize you for a second.
I guess. People tell me I've changed a lot recently.
He seemed to be struggling, and that wasn't surprising. Both Dorothy and Hillary were fined after their guilt was confirmed. I had demanded damages from Kevin too. They must be financially struggling now. They still have to pay the mortgage for the defective house they live in, so it must be quite difficult. How are your mom and Hillary doing?
They're alive, but barely. Both are working now. They have to or they can't eat. They always say they want to go back to how things were.
They want to go back to living off what you and I earned? Sounds just like them. They're just like parasites. I'm truly glad I cut ties. I thought he might say something in return, but he didn't. Instead, my ex-husband let out a big sigh and apologized to me.
I really regret everything. I'm sincerely reflecting on it. I was a fool. Like you said, I should have been on your side all along. I must have been out of my mind.
I think your family has always been out of their minds.
Don't say such cold things. Please, let's live together again. I'll cut ties with that family for good. I'm serious. You're all I have.
Oh, that's too bad. I already have someone else. I don't need you, and even if I didn't have a partner, I would never consider getting back together. When I firmly said that, Kevin collapsed to his knees. But there's no way I would fall for such a performance now. If I was a terrible person, I probably would have spat on him right there. I left my ex-husband behind and went home. After that, he never contacted me again. The real estate agent who had helped me informed me of this. Dorothy, Kevin, and Hillary's lives turned into a real mess after that. They were angry at each other for how bad things were at home, and it just made things between them even more strained. Sounds of arguing and breaking glass could be heard from their house every night. They were always insulting and annoying each other, but they couldn't go their separate ways. It was like being in hell. They're pretty much on their own in their neighborhood, and nobody wants anything to do with them. So they'll likely sell their house for next to nothing and end up with no place to live and a bunch of debt. In my mind, I can clearly see the three of them huddled together under the cold sky, cursing each other. Someday I'd like to see with my own eyes just how miserable they've become. Meanwhile, I am living a surprisingly happy life. It's all thanks to my new partner. He's a skilled salesman working for a major trading company, a mature man who can respect others' values and has a calm disposition. He's also divorced, just like me. Soon we plan to have a nice little ceremony. My first marriage was a total nightmare. Sometimes I get really emotional thinking about how much it hurt back then. But even so, when I'm with him, my heart just fills up with warmth. This is where I truly belong. It's been a long journey, but I finally arrived. That's how I feel. I've been through some tough stuff, but it's made me want to be more understanding towards others. I'm looking to live a happy and fulfilling life, taking my experiences as lessons. That's how I'm feeling right now.